your phone or your tablet with commentary. So last year there was no commentary and there was no scoreboard, so you just had to kind of remember what was happening. But now it's like a regular TV experience, except with the radio WDON commentators who are hilarious and so charming. And so like watching it is now also a pleasure. But I watched the entire game and it was joyful. Wimbledon looked better, in my opinion, than they looked all of last season. The goal itself was hideous. Joe Pigott, the Maidstonian Messi, or as I guess we're going to be calling him, Joey Pigs. Joey Pigs scored in the 60th minute, and it was a really ugly finish. He just barely got a foot on the ball, and it kind of dribbled into the goal, but they all count the same. And Wimbledon really dominated the game. Fleetwood did hit the inside of the post from like 30 yards out with a beautiful shot late in the game. But I thought Wimbledon deserved to win, and we did win, which great. So off to a roaring start thanks to a goal from Joe Pigott. A lot of the new players looked good. Mitch Pinnock looked good. A very encouraging, very, very encouraging first game for AFC Wimbledon. You don't want to get ahead of yourself. Of course, it's a long season, 45 games to go. We're going to win the league.
Get those points, John. Well, the news from Mars, John, is, not super great. There's was this hope that people have talked about that maybe there's enough carbon dioxide on the surface of Mars, in Mars's inside of the regolith, inside of the ice caps, frozen in little pieces, that if you could warm it up a little bit, that CO2 would release into the atmosphere, and then that would create sort of a heat trapping layer that would then warm it up more, and more carbon dioxide would be released, and then you would get more and more CO2 until suddenly just a little bit of warming resulted in a lot of warming, and it was warm enough maybe and with enough atmospheric pressure even that you could walk outside. You couldn't walk outside without an oxygen mask on so that you could breathe the atmosphere, but you could walk outside without suffering from decompression or being extremely, extremely, extremely cold. So that would be really cool, but we've got two new sets of data in that are signaling that there probably isn't enough carbon dioxide trapped on the surface in dry ice, or even trapped in the rocks and soil of Mars, that if we released all of it, this is what the study says, it would create 15 millibars of atmospheric pressure.
Is that a lot?
Right now, you're probably sitting at 1,000 millibars right now where you are. And,
I'm feeling it.
And that would not...
I can tell you, I feel
good.
all 1,000 millibars.
Is...
I feel a lot of atmosphere around me.
It's holding all your parts in. It's holding it's pushing all that good oxygen into your lungs. It's great. It's good for you. But 15 millibars would be bad for you. So that's not going to be the only thing we need to terraform Mars. I'm not saying that there's maybe no way to do it. You just have to find other ways to turn the rocks on Mars into gases, because it's not just going to be the CO2 that's sitting around on the surface of Mars that will do it, unless we're super wrong about something, which, hey, we might be, because look, Mars is far away and we can only study it in very specific locations where we have landers, or by sort of shooting different science beams at it. and studying the results of the science beams. Hey, I don't think that that's a terrible way to put it. You don't want me to get into the details of how all of these things work right now. We do that in other episodes, but I just wanted to talk about the likeliness of that particular terraforming scheme not being super simple. We'll have to find some other places to get those gases from.
All right, good to know. Well, I still believe that we will terraform Mars, but only after we destroy Earth.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the problem with Mars is I just feel like if I'm living on Mars, it's going to be so hard for me to get the really good food that I like from Earth. Is there do they have Postmates on Mars? I guess once there's people there, there'll be Mars Postmates for emergency deliveries. Indian food.
One of the people who wrote in this week, Hank, suggested that the new AFC Wimbledon goalkeeper, Tom King, should be known as the Keeper of the Castle. And I like that a lot.
Oh, yeah. Because he's the king.
And the Keeper of the Castle. It's great. It's perfect. So I just wanted to get that out there. The Keeper of the Castle, Tom King. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. I was listening to you talk about Mars, but I was looking at AFC Wimbledon's starting lineup.
You know, we all have to indulge in the things that we love, John. This was episode 150 of Dear Hank and John, so thank you to everybody for listening to 150 episodes of Dear Hank and John if you've done that. If you haven't, they're still on the iTunes, on our RSS servers if you want to listen to them, or, you know, it doesn't hurt our feelings if you don't.
Yeah, no, start today. Make this the first one you ever listen to so you have no idea about the manhole joke earlier.
Yeah, or the fact that we got another question from Pia, and I'm wondering if it's the same Pia. Pia and the Long Con, the violinist.
Oh my God, is it
the same Pia?
The same Pia? Look it up. Look it up.
It's a different Pia, John.
Okay, good to know. I'm glad that we established that. Hey, Hank, did you use your phrase of the week this week?
I did use my phrase of the week this week, John. Did you use yours?
I used mine, yes. Do you want to guess what mine was?
I gotta tell you, I have no idea. I wasn't paying attention at all.
It was the 100th Luft balloon, and it was not easy. But I did it.
Oh my. So that's why you made us keep that in.
Yes.
That's why you made us keep that story in.
Yes, because it is the only way that I could figure out to put in the 100th Luft balloon.
God, you're just a liar. You just lie about things.
Yeah, I just make up stories. Sarah did once have an art gallery show at her gallery in which there were temporary tattoos involved, but nothing of that level of complexity. What was your phrase of the week? I also have no idea what it was.
It was emergency takeout. Got it in at the end there.
Oh, wow. I mean, that makes sense because why else would you be talking about Postmates on Mars? But I was already looking at AFC Wimbledon's likely starting lineup for their next game.
I got saved by John's distractibility. John, what did we learn today?
I was like, I can't believe I'm so excited that we're going to be starting Ben Purrington out on the left. What? I'm sorry. What's going on? What's your name?
John, what did we learn today?
Oh, man, we learned that Ben Purrington's the likely starting left back for next week's game.
If we learned that if you want to get something over John's head, just wait until he's looking at football stuff.
We've learned that if you want to keep a secret, just drive through.
I forgot about that. Oh, my God. And we also learned, John, the difference between spicy and sour. It's very important.
Yeah, it's a significant difference. There's no doubt about that. We learned that there are at least 2 people in the world named Rachel who are concerned about their relationship with the show Friends.
And according to the Twitter poll that I just looked at, we learned that more than half of people who responded do not know who or what Teddy Ruxpin is.
Well, and also you didn't get any explanation for who or what Teddy Ruxpin is in this episode, so sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's a creepy animatronic bear that talks to you.
Great. That about covers it. We're off to record our Patreon-only podcast This Week in Ryan's, the worst 10 minutes of your week. You can find out about it at patreon.com/DearHankandJohn. Thank you again to everyone for listening. This podcast is edited by Nicholas Jenkins. It's produced by Rosiana Rojas and Sheridan Gibson. Our Director of Community and Communications is Victoria Bongiorno. The music that you're listening to right now and at the beginning of the podcast is by the great Gunnarola. I'm Hank Green on Twitter. Nope. I'm John Green on Twitter. Hank is Hank Green on Twitter. You can also email us at hankandjohn@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, and as they say in our hometown,
don't forget to be awesome. Dear Hank and John is supported by Simple Contacts, the convenient way to renew your prescription and reorder your contacts from anywhere in minutes. Simple Contacts has all of the brands and types of lenses you are familiar with, and you can get $20 off your contacts at simplecontacts.com/DearHank20 or enter code DearHank20 at checkout.
Listener supported. WNYC Studios. Cold open, just to let you know that the PodCon crowdfunding campaign will be closing down very, very soon. PodCon, if you don't know, is an event that we did last year in Seattle, and we're doing it again. It's just for people who love podcasts, whether you make podcasts or just really love listening to them. It's happening on January 19th and 20th in Seattle, and there will be tons of amazing podcasts represented. I'm going to do a list, but it's going to be incomplete. Welcome to Night Vale, My Brother and Me, 99% Invisible, The Stoop, Lore, Hello from the Magic Tavern, Nancy, Sam Sanders from It's Been a Minute, Oh No, Ross and Carrie, Demi and Miel from Punch Up the Jam, tons more. We'll be doing a live Dear Hank and John, and there will be lots of other fun, weird, cool things like live shows, podcast mashups, performances, panels, ghost stories, and other good weirdness. Just go to podcon.com for more information and to support us in these final hours.
Hello, and welcome to Dear Hank and John.
Or as I prefer to think of it, Dear John and Hank.
It's a comedy podcast where two brothers answer your questions, give you dubious advice, and bring you all the week's news from both Mars and AFC Wimbledon. John.
Yes.
Why were the Mongols so happy?
Why were the Mongols so happy, Hank?
Because they were nomads.
God. I love this new opening bit. I love that you tell a dad joke and then I to share something that's good this week.
So, John, what's good this week besides my very good dad joke about Mongols?
That was a very good joke. Hank, do you remember the couple who we tracked down their wedding website through somewhat nefarious means, and it was an unfinished website and we made fun of it?
Yes, I do. It was not great. It almost seemed maybe possibly incomplete, and maybe we shouldn't have mocked it?
Right, because they weren't ready to share it yet. We got a very nice email from Josh explaining that they just weren't done with their wedding website, which is why they hadn't told anyone about it, and it wasn't Josh's fault that we tracked it down through somewhat nefarious means. Anyway, they are now finished with their wedding website, and I just wanted to give you an update, Hank, because it is the greatest wedding website I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, I don't know who designed this site, but I want them to design my new website. They have an app, Hank. They have an app available in both the Apple Store and the Google Play Store.
God, okay, this is good. But like, can we set the bar lower for just everything? I just like I feel like you guys are setting the bar way too high. I don't need it. I don't want it. I don't need an app.
It's a great wedding website. Their guide to the wedding party is hilarious. Their stories about how they met each other are so great, and it's just all so well done. And as apology for the fact that we tracked down your website before you were ready, Kathy and Josh, Hank and I have purchased you a fancy dinner at the Eiffel Tower, which, by the way, I learned this week does have a bathroom near the top of it.
But it's got pipes all the way down to the bottom. That's good, because you don't want to get up there and be like, I gotta poop. There's a countdown on their wedding website, John. It's counting down as I'm staring at it.
Yeah.
It's 214 days away. How is your website look this good? 214 days out. I just don't have time for this.
Well,
you are too organized.
To be fair, Hank, they probably weren't going to get it out this quickly, but then we made fun of them. And they felt like their hand was forced.
So are they going to Paris for their honeymoon, or you're just like you figure out how to get there?
They are going to Paris for their honeymoon, and we have bought them dinner at the Eiffel Tower as an apology. So congratulations to Kathy and Josh, both on their forthcoming marriage and on a really spectacular website. Hank, should we answer some questions from our listeners?
All right, John, this first question comes from Nick, who asks, Dear Hank and John, I rarely hear or see YouTubers citing their sources when clearly stating information that came from somewhere other than their own minds. While I do sometimes see a link to an article or a video that holds the information from which the YouTuber got it, this doesn't appear to be common practice. Are YouTubers not required to practice any sort of rules of source citation? Yeah, Nick, no. No. I love it.
By what governing body, Nick?
I love it. I love it that you think that's possible. Because, like, when we're going to school, all the teachers are like, you got to cite your sources. Here's all the different ways you could cite your sources. Got to use the Chicago Manual of Style or whatever. And and then you make a YouTube video
and there are no rules because it's the internet and you can literally say anything. Welcome to 2018.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if everybody had to cite their sources on Facebook. There would be no Facebook.
Oh, it would be way too much work. The people who work for social media companies talk about like the barrier to expression. So like how can we lower the barrier to posting? They want it to be very easy for new content to be created because content is the thing that makes the platform work. And so on Twitter, they make it basically so that any dumb thought that plops out of your mind becomes useful enough for you to be like, well, it's a tweet. And it's very easy to post. Same thing with like Instagram stories or Snapchat stories. The idea is like make it so easy to create content that everyone will do it. And make like putting a barrier in that is as boring and frustrating as citing your sources. Ha! Good luck.
We should add, though, that Nick, in his email, cited all of his sources,
It's
which
true.
I thought was very impressive. We try to do this in Crash Course. We don't always do it, and we especially didn't do it at the beginning.
Yeah.
But we do think it's important, and we're trying to put more of an emphasis on it in our educational content because we need people to understand that we didn't just make this stuff up and that we're doing our best not to just guess. The reason it doesn't happen on YouTube is because it's work, and a lot of times that work is expensive and time consuming, and it doesn't feel as central to the mission as, for instance, making or animating the video.
Right, which is why there are all kinds of signals in academia to force you to do this, because in many ways, like, the work isn't worthwhile unless you can figure out, unless you can build on the work, and you can't build on the work without knowing where the information came from, especially because sometimes information turns out to not be good. And if the information came from somewhere and you're not sure where, and you can't check and you can't see if like it has since been known to not be good information, then you cannot actually build knowledge that way. And
Right.
So I think that a good sign of credible content on the internet is that they do cite their sources. And we have tried to do that more, and we do it on Crash Course, but we certainly don't do it every time on Vlogbrothers, just because like it's work and we got other stuff to do, and it's not supposed to be work. It's supposed to be fun, right? Vlogbrothers supposed to be woo woo, not like citing my sources. I'm done with school.
I cite my sources in informational videos, actually, but I like that Nick is basically saying, I care, and I
Yes.
think more of us need to care, and by the act of caring, the incentives will change. So thank you, Nick. You're the hero we need, if not the hero we deserve. The next question comes from Naomi, who writes, Dear John and Hank, I recently went to my local bookstore and bought a used copy of An Abundance of Catherines, which I had already read. Well, thank you, Naomi, for liking it enough to purchase it. When I got home, I opened it up to find a note that looked like it had been typed on a typewriter, and it said, Hope you like this book, smiley face. P.S. You have an
Yes.
incredibly mellifluous voice, and then a phone number.
Oh my gosh.
I was very confused as the stranger had left me their number in a book and wanted me to call them. I looked up the number, and it's from Arkansas. I'm opposed to calling strange numbers, but we have the same taste in books, so I don't know what to do. Help, not a Catherine, Naomi.
Good, John. So like first update is that back in when that book came out, was it that book?
No.
Was it Paper Towns? Yeah.
It was Paper Towns.
Well, but we had this thing where we had people leave notes inside of John Green books telling people, like, basically a way to communicate in the real world, to like leave a comment, and were called Nerdfighter notes. And I had assumed that all of the Nerdfighter notes had been discovered by now, but apparently not.
Apparently not, although it does seem weird to say, P.S. you have an incredibly mellifluous voice, which it's just presumptuous. However, I am going to call the phone number.
You're gonna call the phone number. He's gonna call the phone number.
Yeah, but not with my phone. I'm no dummy. I got to get Sheridan. Hold on. Sheridan wants to sit here till I'm finished to make sure that I don't misuse her phone, which is totally reasonable. Hold on. Here we go. We're calling the number, Hank. I don't know who I'm calling.
Oh, it's probably not.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
Okay, that was fast.
The mailbox is full.
It's full.
Oh, this, by the way, this happens every time I call my brother Hank Green.
Oh, I don't know how to empty my mailbox.
He doesn't answer the phone, and then I'm told that the mailbox is full, so I literally can't leave him a message except to text him. But don't worry, he doesn't reply to texts.
How do you delete voice messages? I just don't know. Like, why? I don't understand. Like, look. Okay, this is something I don't understand. I have gigabytes of space in my email. Why can't my voicemails just be stored in the same system so that I don't have to constantly delete voicemails? Why? Why don't I want to keep my voicemails? I don't understand. Just put them on the Google Drive with all of the other files in the cloud. I can upload literally anything I want to YouTube, but I can't keep a freaking voicemail?
I am glad that you have found something really important to be outraged about, Hank, because that does seem to me one of the leading problems of 2018, that it is difficult to store as many voicemails as we would like. I'm just upset that I can't call this person, and it appears that we're never going to be in contact ever again.
Oh, man.
So it's a bummer.
It is a bummer. Missed opportunity, everybody. That probably the number isn't in service anymore, or they're just like me and don't know how to delete voicemails. This next question comes from Allison, who asks, "Dear Hank and John, I am currently dating a very sweet guy, and it's all going very well. However, he often compliments me by saying things like, 'I look beautiful.' My problem is, I do not feel like there's a socially acceptable way for me to tell him that he is also beautiful. I realize that I could tell him he is handsome, but that word feels awkward and formal. I would just break free of these laws of social acceptability and say that he's beautiful because he is, but I don't want to make him feel uncomfortable when I'm trying to compliment him. So I'm turning to my two favorite podcasters for help. Not a stoner, Allison." What does that mean? Is Allison Stoner a thing? Who's Allison Stoner?
I think that she's on How I Met Your Mother.
No, that's definitely not. That's Allison Hannigan.
Allison Stoner is...
She's from Cheaper by the Dozen from 2003. Also in multiple Step Up movies.
She was on The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. Yeah, I think she was in Step Up 3, Take It to the Streets.
She was in several different Step Ups. But I'm glad that Allison Stoner, born 1993, is a great candidate for This Week in Ryans, at least. John, do you have any good things to call Allison's boyfriend?
I would just go with hot. That's what I usually use. Or handsome.
Guess.
But I would also not be afraid of beautiful. What was the second Step Up movie called?
Oh, God. The Streets? Was it? I think that was The Streets.
Hold on. I don't
Step
think
Up to the Streets.
She doesn't appear to have been in the second one, which was the best one. Which is,
it was so good.
I feel bad if
Streets.
Allison Stoner listens to this podcast and she finds out that she wasn't in what was by far the best Step Up movie, but she wasn't.
It's so hard to get this man to focus. He's 40 years old, everyone. Focus.
I am focused. What is the question?
I asked Catherine this question. I went to a source and I was like, what would you say if you ever wanted to tell a man that he was attractive?
Yeah.
And she said, you got to go with fit.
Yeah, isn't that what English people say? I like that. I like fit. I also like handsome. What's wrong with handsome? It doesn't seem that old-fashioned to me, although I guess I am technically an old person, so what do I know?
What about, like, oh, you're looking dapper today?
Do you know that the first Step Up movie has a 19% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh, my goodness.
And the consensus states that, quote, "this trite teen romance has too little plot and not enough dancing." I mean, wrong on both counts, sir.
But how did Step Up to the Streets do?
Step Up to the Streets is only 27% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. What are these critics thinking? Step Up to the Streets is one of the greatest films of all freaking time.
I've watched it at least 2 times, and it has a 76% liked it score from the audience, which, let's be honest, who cares what the critics think? And John, do you think that there's something deeper at play where we can't call men beautiful? Where we feel like that's weird? Do you want to get into it?
Not only do I think there's something deeper at play, Hank, I think it is actually related to the reason that 73% of professional movie critics thought that Step Up to the Streets was a bad movie. I think we have all of these ideas about what constitutes good and bad and beautiful, and I think that toxic masculinity plays a role in what kind of movies are treated as being high quality movies, and I think toxic masculinity plays a role in what kind of people are talked about as being beautiful. Like one of the critics wrote, this isn't a very good movie, but it's probably the best of its kind, which to me is just exactly what's wrong with a certain strain of criticism. Like, to me, the job of criticism in art is not to say what is high art, what is properly good. The job is to say, like, what accomplishes what it sets out to accomplish, and is what it sets out to accomplish interesting and beautiful. And the answer for Step Up to the Streets is yes and yes.
Absolutely. It was a beautiful movie, and Allison's boyfriend is also beautiful. But if you're gonna make him uncomfortable saying it, you could just say, "You looking good today, sweetie."
I might say something like, if you were a Step Up movie, you would be Step Up to the Streets, baby.
This next question comes from Brooklyn, who asks, "Dear H&J, an unforeseen circumstance has occurred. My cousin broke up with his boyfriend. They have been going out for 10 months. The boyfriend got along with the family super well, and I became fairly close with them, bonding over school and such. He's 3 years older than me, same as my cousin, and I'm not really in the same social setting as either of them, mostly due to this age difference. But he's really nice. I really like talking to him, but I think it would be awkward to hang out or talk to him because I don't get out much anyway. Not a boy, not a bridge, not a Burrow, or a Beckham. Brooklyn."
What a great sign off.
Yeah, it's good. This is a fairly common problem in the world, where we have people enter our lives because they're entering through another person that is already in our lives, but then they don't have that relationship with that person anymore, and who do we pick? Or do you have to pick? And sometimes you do.
Yep. Sometimes you do have to pick.
And if it's family, you gotta go with family.
You do usually have to go with family. That said, it doesn't seem clear to me that in this situation, Brooklyn does have to pick. I feel like Brooklyn could text or email this person and say, "Hey, just say, hey, how are you doing?" Just check in on them. I think it's really nice to have people check in on you, and they might respond, they might not, but at least it puts the ball in their court, and it lets them know that you do care about them separate from your relationship with your cousin.
But what I would say very strongly is, if you have any romantic interest in this person, do not pursue any relationship at all. If you're thinking, well, we could just be friends, but I do think that they're pretty cute, nope.
Except maybe, you know? I don't know how well you remember the plot of Step Up to the Streets, Hank, but the whole story doesn't happen if there isn't a little bit of that. That was okay. I would like to officially announce that as my last Step Up to the Streets reference for the entire podcast.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
This next question comes from Becky, who writes, "Dear John and Hank, at the Turtles All the Way Down tour last year, my best friend and I made posters for the show in Indianapolis. We were both very excited at the time, but then afterwards we realized, were we a bit too crazy? Now that we've gotten our tickets for the Absolutely Remarkable Thing tour coming up in Indianapolis, we are wondering, should we make posters again? Please answer us. We are stressed out and don't want to be too overwhelming."
Make posters and also encourage others. So what you want to do is bring everybody else up to your level, not go down to theirs.
Right.
You want to bring everybody else up. So organize poster creation party times at your local library.